Brissa, thank you for being a subscriber. Today we have with us dear friend, fellow brother in Christ, excellent researcher Aaron Fochman from Underground Publishing once again for us to have a discussion. How you doing today, Aaron?
I'm doing good, John. How are you?
Doing well, brother. So I'm going to bring up a couple of things for us to discuss. We're gonna talk about it first, and I want to get your opinion on this. Um, I'm seeing a lot of American exceptionalism, which is a big buzzword in the technocracy and the American technocrats that was originally came from Stalin when he was kind of like mocking Americans during World War II.
Hmm.
They're kind of pushing America's dominance in our military, that our military is the most high tech, that our military is the largest, that our military is the most efficient. And in reality, everything that we were told about Russian hypersonic missiles and, China's war capabilities were all completely bunk. And what we did down there in Venezuela using directed energy weapons, where we've never came forth before and said that we actually had directed energy weapons or DEWs.
Yeah.
Now we're bragging we got DEWs. They're gonna be even better. All right. So what's your thoughts about all that?
Well, I think we're going to keep pushing the narrative that China. I mean, China is advancing technologically very quickly, and they scale stuff up very quickly and deploy it very quickly. So, obviously, being a communist country, you don't have to worry about regulation. You don't have to worry about individual rights. You can just roll out stuff as it seems pragmatic, and the Chinese people are going to go along with it. So in terms of scale and adoption and stuff like that, they are going very fast with technology, but it does seem like most of their technology is still derivative. It's not like they've been inventing stuff that we are not. I mean, they just know how to copy the stuff we do really quickly, which is, good for them. I mean, wouldn't you if the shoe were on the other foot, right? Um, but we're using the threat of Chinese technology dominance, and there has been a realistic, hey, look how many people China has, and that means X amount of geniuses compared to America, and that means X amount of innovation and things like that. And
But
people,
have
yeah,
you heard what's been going around here, right, with the narrative of whether this is the CIA putting it out, where because of the one child policy, the population of China is actually a lot lower than we actually think that it is?
it is, and that's the thing. We are going to exacerbate the threat of China because that's how you get more pull for the government doing what it wants here, right?
Hmm.
They do the same thing. China does that. Soviet Union does that, right? It's always been a thing of weakened powers who are really clinging to their own power to project the threat of the enemy outside, either to advance, their own hawkish militarism or to, just keep the people obedient, right? Because the barbarians are at the gates, kind of thing, right? China has made some real advances. They have a capacity to produce a huge navy, but they don't have a huge navy. They have made some advances in submarine technology. And again, there's people who know so much more about this than me. This is just me, watching the stuff that I'm watching and listening
Hmm.
to the stuff I'm listening to. They're clearly there, but they geographically they're not going to be able to project power the way we do in the wider world, militarily. They just it's too easy to box them in and cut them off because again they have the South China Sea is where they can deploy from, but they have too many enemies immediately who could disrupt them doing that. So the idea that China's goal is to project a dominance in South America and Africa and stuff like that militarily is just absurd. It'd just be too easy to cut them off by too many different powers around them and harass them and make it different for them. They would have to have a navy that would be projected that could outdo the U.S. and Britain and the traditional naval powers. I mean, Russia can't even do that. That's why they rely on subs so much, right?
Hmm.
The idea of just projecting naval power throughout the world is massively important to maintaining a supremacy over trade, which is why the world has largely accepted the American order because we guard that trade for everybody, right? This is why piracy is such a big deal. It's like that's our domain. Well, that was the domain of Rome too, putting down all the pirates in the Mediterranean so that everybody else was free to trade. That mostly gets people to accept your rule. It's like there if it's in the on land, you mostly just need a gate for your city, right? Like
Hmm.
to make sure they can't come in at night, right? But on the sea, the pirates can take your stuff from your merchants, who at best might have a few archers and soldiers on board, and they just keep pillaging your goods. And that's why you have that going around in the Arabian caravans, you have that going on at sea. So if you can guarantee the safety of that, that just increases mercantilism, that increases overall wealth, that increases just all kinds of economic growth, but across the empire, and everyone's happy, and so they're going to be happy with the ruling power, and that's how the world has basically been about American hegemony. It's not just the dollar and the petrodollar that certainly helps secure it, and buying American debt, and basically pinning everything to fiat to the dollar is good, but it's ultimately our navies keeping everything secure and making sure no power grows to the point of being able to compete with us on the ocean, so that smaller powers can then start to project piracy and stuff like that, or just disrupt vessels and stuff like that. That's been something that's very important. Now, but this is something that I heard somebody point out recently. It's like China and Russia aren't messing with people's vessels at sea. There's only one power that's doing that, and that's us, right? So we have been projecting that China is much more advanced than they are, and not to downplay, they are very advanced. In construction, in technology deployment, and stuff like that, they have grown in leaps and bounds over the past 20 years. You don't want to downplay that, but that's mostly within their country where they have total control of their population, right? What we have is, DARPA that's been going on. Like, we didn't just stop with the nukes and say, okay, well, we got nukes, let's just hold on to a bunch of them and maintain it. We've been advancing every single thing, and we've been throwing money at DARPA for 50 years to come up with crazy space crap to, dissolve aliens' brains and whatever, should we happen upon them, right? So, like, we didn't just show up one day and be like, let's have a space force and start building this. This was something that was in the works, right? Like,
Yeah.
we were planning to secure total dominance through space weaponry, through satellite-driven technology, and all this other stuff. And we've been dealing with stuff like, what is it called, where they use magnets to throw a huge thing of metal, right? Or drop a big thing of metal from space.
Rods from gods, what they usually call
like
kinetic, low Earth orbit kinetic ballistic weapons.
Right, and believe in a heartbeat, like the maddest of the mad scientists from Germany, we grabbed them after World War II, and we're like, okay, design this stuff for us. Okay, let's think about building it. Okay, but are we really going to use it, right? And the idea is, we're not always, you got to think about economics, you got to think about, okay, once we put this out there, someone's going to try to copy it, right? So, like, do we really want to do this? Well, we're at the point where Trump wants to show off what we got, and for years, the status quo has been, we've got our ships. You could say Gulf War was kind of like, let's shock and awe to show how BA we are, but traditionally, when we would go to war, especially with a smaller company or country, we would dump our old munitions and stuff like that, right? We would get rid of our old stuff to burn down this country, to show off, like, this is our old stuff, right? Like, this is the stuff we don't need anymore, so we don't care if you guys copy it, right? And the stuff that we're selling to our allies even would be like, yeah, this is the stuff that's beneath what we have. It's good stuff compared to what you guys have, but it's beneath our top technology. And the idea was, our best technology is going to come out and scare the pants off you if World War III ever breaks out, right? That seems to be like what we've always been trying to project. But like everything that's going on right now is, we're saying this is World War III. We're just not saying World War III.
And
right?
You think, like I do, that it started when
Putin invaded Ukraine.
yes, that's what I think it started.
Well, and I told you about the source I used to have, who was in the intelligence community, who told me this is what he's going to do for retirement once World War III breaks out. And he did that immediately when and it wasn't a coincidence that Vladimir Zhirinovsky called the day and the hour of it, and also that a lot of the dealing that seems to be going on with Trump and them seems to be based on Vladimir Zhirinovsky's plan for a new world order. Like, his version of the new world order was like, China dominates everything south of them, Russia south of them, Europe south of them, and America south of them, and that is basically the world order. And so Trump seems to be basically running that dynamic as if it's like, okay, we know Russia's going to go for this, so he's going to do it. And that seems to be what he seems to be trying to do is grab as much as we can right now, disrupt as much as we can over there, and then pull back and be isolationist. That seems to be, again, if he has a strategy. I don't even know if he has a strategy, but if he has a strategy, that seems to be what it is. So it's like the idea is, man, if we can get a Saudi Israel friendly government in Iran, to be up Russia's butt for the next 100 years, right? While we're pulling back and being isolationists, we don't have to worry about a real threat. We mostly have to worry about China, and basically we do that by selling weapons to Japan, South Korea, Australia, the Philippines, and Indonesia to basically just obstruct China from being able to expand its military presence beyond the South China Sea. I think that's the plan. Let them have Taiwan, fine, but we're going to cut you off from the greater world economy, and then we can sanction you to death like we're doing to Russia, basically. Because
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
yeah, you can project power, but we're going to go compete in all those spheres. We're going to compete in South America. We're going to compete in Africa economically, and we might not go, toe to toe with you in a war, and they don't want that, and we don't want that. But the idea is we can keep the squeeze on China so they don't ever really get to a point where they're dominant, which I don't think they ever will. I think that's why the Kings of the East is kind of the last thing, right?
yeah,
It's China throwing all their numbers out of, but it's not just them. It's them. It's everybody between them and Iran, with the possible exception of India, trying to overthrow the Antichrist. So the idea that China would rise to dominance before that, or that Turkey would rise to dominance and put together a new Ottoman Empire or something like that before that, I think is absurd. I think the stuff we're talking about with Turkey going after Iraq and Iran and stuff like that is because we're pulling out. We know we're pulling out. And so we want to see, something that involves Turkey, Israel, and Saudi Arabia stepping up to bolster against Iran and hopefully get a government that's friendly to them in Iran to be essentially a perpetual finger in the eye of Russia and China, basically. To say, okay, you guys have the Arctic and Pacific Ocean, but we can compete with you on those fronts. And we have, a better port system, basically, and a better naval deployment system, so we're fine with that. But, that would secure Middle Eastern oil to Europe into perpetuity, and it would also secure some kind of balance that says, okay, if we get a friendly Iranian government in there, we can basically start chipping away at the southern Soviet states, allow them all to flow their oil down through Iran and mostly feed China, and East Asia and Japan and these other countries, right?
mm,
In a way that is kind of a little bit more economical, and also it's they're not getting the best price for their money, so they're doing better, but they're never really competing with our allies on our side of the Euphrates, which is again Turkish weapons to Europe, Israeli being the disruptive. It's like you can play these three off against each other, right? Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Turkey, because they will work together against a common enemy, but they don't really naturally gel with each other, and that would allow us economically and in terms of intelligence and weapons and whatnot to play them off against each other in order to make sure that you still need something like an Anglo-American economic system at a minimum to kind of maintain that balance of power on our side of the line while they all work together against a potential Islamic fundamentalist revival in Iran, basically.
well, did you see what happened today? I don't know if you did, where France and some of the European Union countries that have been holding out to join the Board of Peace,
Mhm.
this is important, said today that they will if the Board of Peace recognizes Palestine and allows them, through the technocrat who is part of the Board of Peace right now, Ali Sharif, I think is his name, for
Mhm.
him for him to represent Palestine on the Board of Peace officially, which you had some Arab nations supposedly who are holding out wanting that as well too, and Russia, which Russia either joined or didn't. They're kind of like in this weird limbo where Trump said they did, and Putin said he's gonna. I don't know. It's weird. I talked about it on the stream a little bit today, but
I'm not sure who Ali Sharif is. Can you give me the rundown?
so he's a Palestinian technocrat, and I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. I
Okay.
apologize if I am. But he is working directly with the United Nations and the Gaza Board of Peace to institute Kushner. So I guess I should play the video.
Yeah,
Kushner.
I
So
mean, that's right in Kushner's Abraham Accords peace plan, anyways, right? So if
yes,
Europe's saying that's what we'll get to join, that's what he wants.
yes. So I'll play this real quick.
Do this, and we've developed ways to reach.
So I'm going to go over this when I hopefully cover Jared Kushner's stream tomorrow, depending on the weather. And yes, everybody's listening. Pray for, the people that are going to be affected by this storm. Pray that God gives them mercy and it's not as bad as what they're saying it's going to be,
Yeah,
because it's going to be pretty bad from what I've seen.
I do have your kids.
Yeah. So here is, interestingly enough, Kushner labeled this the Board of Peace Master Plan. Aaron, I do have to say that, the master plan. I couldn't call it something better than that. All right, just call it master plan, I guess. All right. But here is the different phases that they have for the different cities that they're going to build and everything. And very interestingly enough, they discuss, like, you have like a logistics center, a port, you have various cities and residential areas and industrial areas. And he talks about how they're going to have, and I'm going to play this little clip where he talks about here, but he talks about you're going to have 100% employment. Well, the only way you have 100% employment of anything is
It's like,
forced labor, is slavery. So, all right, let's hear what he's got to say here.
Develop Gaza. Gaza, as President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential, and this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones. In the beginning, we were toying with the idea of saying, let's build a free zone, and then we have a Hamas zone. And then we said, you know what, let's just plan for catastrophic success. Hamas signed a deal to demilitarize. That is what we are going to enforce. People ask us what our plan B is. We do not have a plan B. We have a plan. We signed an agreement. We are all committed to making that agreement work. There's a master plan. We'll be doing it in phasing. In the Middle East, they build cities like this in 2-3 million people. They build this in 3 years. And so stuff like this is very doable if we make it happen. Do this.
Thoughts?
yeah. So the model he's looking at is not strange. I mean, I've been to Abu Dhabi once, right? Like I was there on a layover and I just went downtown. I was going to try to jump in the Burj Khalifa and get a picture, but I never made it. But if you look at Abu Dhabi and Dubai, same way, you have these beautiful strips of skyscrapers and all this, beachfront property on the Persian Gulf, which is not great geolocation. It's just they have tons of money, so they built it, right? But it's not great geolocation because that's all within striking distance of Iran, right? So, what you would then also have is these guys don't work because they've all got oil money, and so they import this, massive. I think it's something like 80% of the people who are in the UAE are foreign nationals, foreign migrant workers, basically. And they're going to come from Indonesia, from the Philippines, from India. Same thing with Saudi Arabia. They're going to have these massive amounts of people coming from those countries to do all their work. The restaurants, the cleaning, the janitorial, the maintenance, the technology, everything. The Arabs don't work, and they don't educate themselves to work. They just sit on oil money, right? And so what he's showing is actually something that is basically, well, we're doing that, except that labor force is going to be the Gazans, and all the rich people from the West, and let's face it, rich people who are fleeing America as it sinks down into the toilet, can go there and get all the nice beachfront property, all the beautiful real estate, and behind it we have relatively decent, relatively new, which I'm sure they're going to cut corners on and give them crap stuff.
Yeah.
For the service class, right? And again, it's like the idea is yeah, once we get this stuff in place, we're not handing you guys free money. You're gonna serve us falafels and stuff. Like you know what I'm saying? You're going to be our servants as we are basically the upper class in your backyard, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And to the people who are devastated by war and Hamas and all this, it's like, well, that's way better than it is. Exactly. You can come serve us, right? And then what they're doing is they're creating the next place for personally, I think these guys know nuclear war is coming, and I think that's going to be the next phase afterwards. And I've held this for a while that I think you're going to see NEOM really start to blow up after World War III, because it's the idea of the rich from America moving over there, because that's the new center of world trade. That's what I've held for a while, and I just see Gaza as another piece of that. You talk about like Egypt building new cities and a new capital and stuff like that. This idea of just shifting everything over and having new construction where we can make smart cities and stuff like this, they want that for the whole world, right? They want something like Eon Flux, where you're all living in a circular
Trump's
city.
freedom cities.
Yeah, the freedom cages, right? We're making freedom prisons.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh,
Trump did just sign an executive order bringing back sanitariums, and he said, this will go well for the people who have Trump derangement syndrome. By the way, so
right. We'll call them freedom hospitals.
that's so. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just so absurd.
Beam some freedom into your eyeballs.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I see that going on, but again, Trump and Kushner are a couple of real estate guys. Now, this is where it gets down to, again. I mean, this is what I've, just for the reference for your audience, I'm always resisting the idea that Trump is the Antichrist. But if this deal is done in his name, under his nose, that divides the land of Israel and pulls Gaza as a separate state, not just Gaza, but like the West Bank, which it sounds like it's going to, it seems like he's the guy at that point. Like, because again, it's all done under, I mean, they keep constantly saying, only you, like you're the only one who can do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and if that happens, I mean, I might roll over into Team John Brisson on Trump making the Antichrist. It seems like it would go to World War III before that, but didn't Putin say he joined the Board of Peace?
He did, yes. So he talked about it today and yesterday. Trump already said he's on the Board of Peace. Putin said, I need you to take $1 billion of that money that you seized, and I need you to turn it over for the Board of Peace and give it to the Palestinians, which Trump said, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. He's like, you already got my money.
So that's a bribe. Here you go. So yeah, all intents and purposes, like I said, Russia, I do believe, is in, because Putin said that. Putin just said he wants what's best for the Palestinians, and Trump confirmed it already. So
yeah. I mean, so you have all this stuff going on that seems like, wow, we're just heading into a new world order of we're gonna. I mean, it's looking like it, right? We're gonna close some deals. Russia's gonna get at least half of Ukraine. China's gonna get Taiwan. We're gonna get Greenland and Venezuela, and basically start pushing our weight more in there. And where's China in all this? Are they chiming in?
So China said we like the United Nations Security Council the better and the way it is, but they have not officially said no.
Yeah, because they've got a top 5 seat on that, and there's no way they will on the Trump Board of Peace.
And so let's play Viktor Orban real quick, and then go back to what the Board of Peace logo is. But you say people praising Viktor Orban is on the council. Poland is on the council. Okay, so let's see what he had to say here.
System of international organizations are basically paralyzed. When real challenges are coming up, like the Gaza crisis, Palestinian issue, war in Ukraine, the international order is not able to act properly. So I think President Trump is totally right, that if we continue as we have done up to now, nothing will change. So if we would like to make peace and consolidate territories and rich, peaceful coexistence of territories, people and states and nations, we have to do something new. We have to initiate something new. This is a new initiative. It has a chance to be successful. We don't know exactly how it will be concluded, but the intention behind is very good. The target of peace is the most important thing, and the people who are involved are serious. So now we have good chances to do something good and effective. We hope so. The previous...
It's almost like we have now a left-wing and a right-wing version of the UN.
Yes. And then we have the Board of Peace And you have some people in my chat are saying that this is a rounded shield that kind of looks like a Templar shield, like a Crusader shield. And yeah, it kind of does. Kind of does. I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. But you have America focused, right? And with the UN has a top-down polar view of the world, of the globe. And then you have, which some people say these are olive branches. Some people say this is a laurel crown that you would have the Roman emperor wear, right? And I could go either way on it. I'm not going to, but the UN has olive branches for theirs, even though these leaves and branches are different, are separate from the UN. They do look different. But this is the official logo for the Board of Peace.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to be presenting America as the new Rome. I mean, they've been in Pax Silica. They're very much putting that forward. And I mean, they're not wrong to say that the UN is inept. It is. I mean, when Trump can go to the UN and be like, hey, I went to Africa and got this war to stop. I went over here and got this war to stop. He hasn't gotten Ukraine to stop, but what conflicts has the UN stopped?
Now, supposedly Ukraine is very close next because we had, for the first time, Russia, Ukraine, and American diplomats, including the ambassadors of peace for the Donald John Trump Department of Peace, Kushner and Witkoff, meet in Abu Dhabi.
Right, and the idea is like the UN was founded by a bunch of leftist hippies. I mean, Ted Turner and all his environmental stuff. I mean, they really have been doing not much besides condemning Israel and then pushing. I mean, it's been super corrupt with their, like sex trafficking and stuff like that among the UN troops and stuff like that. And then you've got, they're pushing the green agenda and.
Well, they also push theosophy. You have the Theosophical Meditation Room in the UN
across the world, right? Like
Lucius Trust, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see there being like, again, this is a just a major pushback against the UN and saying, hey, we need a more pragmatic, we need a more muscly version of the UN where the deal makers show up to the table and get stuff accomplished, and we don't care about like these third world countries who want equal representation, and they're going to gladly accept the gay agenda and stuff like that to have their voice heard. Like I'm picking on a nation, but like let's say Liechtenstein. Like we don't care what you think, Liechtenstein. Like you're this little tiny kingdom in Europe. We don't care. Like we'll go there to play some slots at your casino, but like shut up. Like you have no voice in geopolitics on the other side of the world, right? Like you contribute nothing. You don't have any resources anyone wants. We're done. Like, and to be fair, it should be like that. If you're talking about world negotiations, it should be like, who are the powers at play? What did they want, right? We don't necessarily want to just roll over these little people like you did with giving away Czechoslovakia to Germany and stuff like that, right? But we don't want to let people who have no stake in the game. I don't care what Mongolia thinks about the Middle East, right? I don't care what Mongolia thinks about the Middle East. Nobody should care what Mongolia thinks about the Middle East. It's irrelevant to them, and they're irrelevant to it, right? Like, it has nothing to do with their economy. It has nothing to do with their military. What I care about is the countries who are on the borders, whose resources are at stake, whose economy is at stake, and can we make deals between that? And again, I'm speaking from a non-professional. I speak as carnal, right? Like, we know where this is going, but I mean, if I'm thinking pragmatically and I'm going, yeah, okay, this makes a lot more sense, and I see a lot more people buying onto it because they're like, you might not like Trump, you might not agree with him, but he will at least go, what do you want? Let's make a deal, right? And where the UN is like a bunch of ideologues who are going to talk about a sense of right and wrong based on morals that come from Satanism and New Age, and nothing pragmatic ever is produced by them. Nothing, no real politic is produced by them, but nothing that, I mean, when has the UN stopped a conflict? Yugoslavia in the 90s? Right? Like, that's how, I mean, they couldn't fix Somalia. Like, they've never been successful. You throw your money at them and they do their stuff and they get in the way And then what do we know that goes on where we hear about it in the aftermath? Well, they didn't stop the genocide, but what we did hear about is corruption and, UN troops like running girls from countries into that state and, running a sex trafficking
through
ring.
UN peacekeeping missions, quote
Right.
unquote.
Like, what have they ever accomplished? So it's like I can see this being received very well by a lot of people. And again, there's so many people are like, again, what's the plan of Hydra? Like, make them beg for their rights to be taken away, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we're heading there. We've caused enough chaos in the world to now where you can go into these countries and be like, hey, we'll throw all your gangs in prison. People are like, great. Hey, my kid's not in a gang, he's in prison. Well, you can't get it right every time. And you're just going to have more people happy than sad, or at least be able to present that picture, right? Same thing. It's like the thing with Russia right now, and again, do I believe there's a bigger plan at stake to advance things towards drone warfare and everybody practice on the Ukrainians and Russians? Yes, I do. But looking at it again, I speak as carnal, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting here going, how many Ukrainians are going to die to perpetuate this war? This is stupid. Russia's eventually going to win unless you just keep throwing money at you. Ukraine keeps throwing bodies, and the rest of us just keep throwing money and weapons at this thing, right? Russia's eventually going to win. This has always been understood by anybody who really knows economics, geopolitics, and military strategy. Is like there is no version of this. They have no defensive position. There's no version of this that they can be anything but just a money pit for everybody else while they eventually just run out of bodies. Like, that's what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, Russia's got how many times their population? Like 10 times or 20 times? Like that? Like, that, and they can pull from North Korea and China. Right? Like, nothing is going to stop this except saying, okay, we're just going to take Ukraine into NATO, and this is World War III, let's go. Right? And nobody in Europe wants that. They want to just, it's different than Vietnam or Afghanistan, where it's like you have a people there who you throw them weapons and it'll eventually be a financial drain on Russia. It's like, this is not really a financial drain on Russia. Do they disrupt some stuff? Sure. But the Russian people are pretty good at living without, amenities. And it's not really wrecking their economy. These guys know how to go back to wood stoves if need be, right? They probably all still have them. So it's like the idea that like, ooh, we wrecked a pipeline that they got to go repair or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we're fine. Like, that is not going to stop this massive country from being able to function and keep throwing lead at you, especially when they've got people in China and North Korea, and eventually they're going to have people in the stand countries in Afghanistan and stuff like that too, saying, "Hey, we'll go practice fighting on the Ukrainians.
Yeah,
we'll train some troops out there." And they're like, "Okay, here's a front." It's like, and they understand going out there. Hey, Russia's going to use you, and they're like, "That's okay."
Well, there was a lot of training through Ukraine with Palantir and Anduril Industry drones. There was.
I know. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing on the other side. We're just mostly doing it with technology, and they're mostly doing it with people.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, they're training up an army, a massive army in Asia that they're not just going to be like, okay, we're done, we quit. They have most of the people in the world. Like, they have most of the people in the world, and there's nothing that's going to be like, oh, okay, we'll just go back to NATO and picking away at our economic interests and our borders. There's no way they're going to go back to that, and they look at it and they can look across at us and be like, yeah, we'll just keep showing you that picture of that guy in the, what was it, like, not a Secretary of Defense or whoever that guy was, who was a he/she, right? Like, these are people they're putting in top government positions. These are crazy people. And they're right. We look crazy. As a culture, we look crazy. And so they look at Donald Trump and they're just like, yeah, he's a business guy and he's brass tacks and he just wants money and he just wants a bunch of personal enrichment. But that at least makes sense to them.
Well, look, he says it right here. Look.
It's going to be close to 100%. Yeah, Steve. You tell us back to the Board of Peace. Some of the countries I think the permanent members contributed $1 billion. What is that money supposed to be for Gaza?
We've already put up $1 billion.
Some of the countries have already put up much more than that. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to the value of peace. Peace is so destructive for everyone, even countries that aren't involved. I mean, it's so destructive for everybody when you have wars.
Won't say where that money's going to, Aaron. Where's that money going?
That's something that Congress should demand to know. Like,
Yeah.
no, are they writing checks directly to you, to Jared Kushner? Who? Right?
Yeah, where's the money going?
And if this is a government that they're putting together over Gaza, couldn't they create accounts for that government
Yeah.
to say it's going directly to Gaza, but we're managing it?
Yeah. I mean,
And it's their own personal bank account?
technically, that's what they say in the bylaws that I read, and they say that Trump has the final decision.
Right. And under him, Nikolai Carpathia.
Yeah.
All that money in the Gaza Strip is safely in the hands of Nikolai Carpathia.
I mean, it's crazy, man. All right, so let's go over Javier Milei, who was the first person who signed to be part of Trump's World Board of Peace. Okay, Argentina was the first country. Okay, remember Javier Milei's Chabad Lubavitch. All right, so let's go ahead. And he's got his own version of the Abraham Accords down there in Latin America called the Isaac Accords.
Which is so weird. Like,
Which is from an Israeli award that he won for the money to put up for it, and I believe that Bukele from El Salvador has joined as well too. So let us. Panic guys, is it true Milei is linked with Chabad? Yes, very much so. He has made numerous pilgrimages to the deceased leader of Chabad Lubavitch, Rabbi Minchaim Schneerson's sacred quote unquote gravesite.
he's got crazy hair.
So, all right, let's play.
Tanto, esto implicará que, si queremos salir de nuestro oscuro presente, debemos volver a inspirarnos en la filosofía griega.
Well, I had one that had him speaking in English, but I don't know why this one doesn't. But he says, we must return to drawing inspiration for Greek philosophy, embrace Roman law, and go back to Christian values.
That's Christendom.
And I'm going to talk about this future stream I was going to mention here. There was a Theosophical Pact for Peace called the Nicholas Warwick Pact during the Franklin Delano Roosevelt administration. That's a previous stream. That is something I'm going to talk about. And here we have Isaac Herzog, the current president of Israel. What does he say about the Abraham Accords? Are they done with the Abraham Accords? Aaron, are they done? Is Israel mad about the World Board of Peace that Bibi Netanyahu's executive board member?
Oh, he's on the board. Too?
Yes, he's executive board member. Yes.
Figures.
All right, let's go.
Right now, what we have is the platform of the Abraham Accords. And the Abraham Accords were carved out in the first term of President Trump and has shown immense sustainability throughout this storm that we have seen in the Middle East. Throughout very difficult years, the Abraham Accords have shown immense impact and immense strength and resilience, and we want to see more nations in the Abraham Accords. Take, for example, the enormous role of the United Arab Emirates. We've seen the huge humanitarian aid in Gaza, building hospitals in Gaza.
Which was a big thing that Jared Kushner talked about and told all the people who are against him, like the people that are, pro-Israel or the people that are anti-Israel, like the Arabs, give us 30 days. Just give us 30 days. Okay, look how much we've done. Look how much has been done for the Gazan people and for Israel. Look how much humanitarian aid has been done through us in the United Nations. Look up how much, look how much we've done. And Isaac Herzog, the president of the state of Israel, reiterates that. And we have to remember that Jared Kushner was a major part of the Abraham Accords, and now that has been turned over to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025.
Yeah.
So
interesting too, because like people have been saying for years that they think before the end times we're going to see the UN move to the Middle East. People have been suggesting Babylon, obviously, since Gulf War 1 and 2. But people have talked about places like, Dubai or whatever. But the point is like, we figured there'd be a time it moves from America to the Middle East. And it's like, but we didn't think of like just a new United Nations. And when you understand that the United Nations was pretty much a private club that people started, it wasn't like the government started this thing. Governments just started interacting with it, right? It was private interest. It's like Ted Turner put a bunch of money into it, right? This is a cable network guy. He's like, why? He had money, right? Well, if they can start the UN that way, and nobody's really happy with anything the UN's doing, it's like, well, good, we're just going to start another one then. And if people do this and they're just like, okay, well, we're just going to stop funding the UN, stop sending diplomats to it, it's gone. And that's what happened with the League of Nations, right? Like, the League of Nations was replaced by the UN. You know, it makes sense to replace it with the Board of Peace. Although, there was a guy they wrote about who was like, by peace, he would deceive, you know?
Yes, by peace he shall destroy many.
He will destroy many, yeah. Yeah, he's doing some anti-Christy type stuff.
I mean, if you're running around saying peace all the time and you're killing people, I mean,
taking over countries. So, bombing, how many countries is he up to?
I don't.
Well, we're not gonna take Greenland by force. That's off the table. Thanks, Trump. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. We're not going to do it this time. But
your nation.
But Cuba's next. Cuba's next. So
right.
Let's finish what Herzog has to say.
Being heavily involved in various processes such as the Board of Peace and maintaining very strong relations with Israel. And Saudi Arabia is the most important house of the Sunni Muslims around the world, with the holiest places for Islam. And I think that the vision of Saudi Arabia and Israel is a vision of rapprochement between Jews and Muslims, which should be the future vision of the Middle East.
Between Jews and Muslims and the involvement of the Saudi Arabia and the Abraham Accords and the Board of Peace. Something tells me the Palestinians are going to get a seat at the table. And all I'm hearing is grumbling of Israel will never allow it happen when Bibi's on the board of directors of the Board of Peace, because it's my belief that somehow, some way, Trump has compromise on Bibi Netanyahu. The tables have flipped. Okay, maybe he's dangling the pardon over Bibi. We'll see. All right, but for Herzog to come out and to agree too, things are getting real. Things are getting real. Looks like Israel might be divided. Aaron, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't.
Like it's happening quick. I mean, so Saudi Arabia hasn't signed on to the Abraham Accords yet, have they?
No, but they are part of the Board of Peace.
Right. So that's the idea. The idea is Saudi Arabia is going to sign on to the Abraham Accords once everybody influenced by Saudi Arabia does. That's what I suspect. And I suspect Turkey to be last. Yeah. You know, if it's going to, because again, the stuff, I mean, Turkey just made a big announcement about like, we're in this to start doing this New World Order thing, right?
And they're in the Board of Peace too.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what are they, I mean, you sent me the thing about Joel Richardson saying that they're taking ISIS and they're Iran. I don't know if that's something that's going on right now, but that's what I predicted in my Revelation book, is that Turkey's going to take over everything up to Euphrates on one side. Iraq and Syria are basically going to be dissolved, and Iran's going to take over everything on the other side of the Euphrates. Like, they're very quickly heading in that direction, and it's very clear that it's like, okay, once the U.S. is preoccupied or out of the way, that seems like it's going to happen, and it seems like Trump is making way for it to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he's trying to stop it. I mean, he certainly wants to pull up stakes in the Middle East, it seems. They talk about what we could or might do in Iran, but I suspect that to be naval and air support only. We're not going to put boots on the ground in Iran. I think people in America would go nuts if Trump tried to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're going to be successful at all. I don't think they are. I think they're trying, but I think this is one of the many pieces that are going to push us into World War III. I mean, how many times can you just be like, oh, we didn't overthrow the country, or we didn't invade the country, we didn't take over the country, we just disrupted and overthrew its government, and until we got somebody that we wanted to play ball with in place. It's like that's the same thing as taking over. It's you're just doing it with the government instead of with the land, right? Like, or with the economic resources, or whatever. This is the same old game that we've been playing nonstop since World War II, mm-hmm. all the way back to Mossadegh, right? And it's like there is a point where it's just like, okay, they're never going to stop doing this. somebody's just got to take America out because, yeah, do other countries do this stuff? Of course. Russia does it, yes. Mostly Russia and us, let's be honest. The French do it, do the British do it? Yes. But there's more of a civility to it with them, I hate to say it. Maybe there wasn't in the 1800s, but there has been since the 20th century because they have less power. And then China's gone in with business deals. They might be bad business deals, but they go in with business deals. They don't go in and try to have one guy kill another guy and take over your government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be what they're trying to do with Iran. And there's no way Russia's going to let that happen. There's no way Russia and Afghanistan, these other countries, are just going to let that happen in right on their border state. They will pile on, and Iran will let them. The Shahs will let them pile on. They're not going to give up the revolution and just be like, oh yeah, we'll just come and become another secularist whore like Saudi Arabia. There's no way it's going to happen.
No, I believe that I believe that's likely the case. Yes. Here we have Eric Trump making business deals in the new Israel, affirming Somaliland.
Mm-hmm.
What's Eric Trump doing over there?
I don't know.
Making them Trump deals.
Trying to earn his father's love, as always.
I mean, it's funny to me that we have Laura Loomer on X always talking about Sharia law, Sharia law, Sharia law, Sharia law, Sharia law, right? And here we have Somaliland, a country that practices Sharia law, but since they signed, a treaty with Israel, and they're allowed Israel to put bases in Somaliland and maybe even send some of the Ghazians over to Somaliland. And Israel was the first country to recognize Somaliland as a breakaway from Somalia. Not a peep from people like Laura Loomer and Mark Levin about Somaliland, huh?
Mm.
Interesting to me. Seems a little hypocritical.
Yeah, I haven't really followed the Somaliland thing much. I mean, Israel wants to have access to be able to do attack. The guy from Somaliland looks like, you're like, what am I doing here? Am I supposed to smile? Like, I don't think these guys know what they're doing. I think they're just like, yeah, we'll go with anyone to have somebody recognize us as a nation. And Israel's like, yeah, we want bases in your land. They're like, done. It's just hand over fist business deals. Like, it's so dirty, and it's like, strategically, what is this going to accomplish? I don't see it accomplishing anything but World War III. I mean, everyone's making so many dramatic moves so quickly that it's like, I pay attention. I listen to a lot of stuff, and it's making my head spin. I'm going, it's wars and rumors of wars, man. Everyone's just lining up for World War III, and it's getting to the point. I mean, it's really weird because, like, in World War I and II, it's like World War I, it's like, okay, we're going to war. Now mobilize your troops because we're going to war with those guys, right?
Yeah.
World War II is like, okay, I think we staved off a war. Boom, it's a war. World War III is just going to be more like, get into position. We're not at war. When they're really at war, right? Like, and every side's doing it. They're just like, we're really at war, but we just keep saying it's not a war. I mean, Russia, at least, they declared war on Ukraine, right?
Yes. I hate to cut this short. My wife needs me. I got to go.
Not a problem.
Tell everybody where they can find you, Aaron.
I'm on Underground Publishing. Look for Batman, and my book, The Revelation Every Eye Will See, and will basically take you through the basics of where this is going to go between now and the end times. So the framework I'm always going to be working in is going to be within that context. And I think, John, we're in general agreement on that timeline, right?
Yes, agreed, yes.
Okay, yeah. So Underground Publishing, The Revelation Every Eye Will See Him. You can find under my name, Aaron Fochman, at Amazon.com.